Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we are back with another dyslexia vid because I like making these. You guys seem to love them. Whenever I always get like very meaty responses to them and continue to do so even after I've had them up for a long time. So I've just written like a list on my phone of what I feel like are like myths about dyslexia that come up again and again and again and again. So I just, you know, debunk them for you in a video because my god, there is so much misinformation and misunderstanding, and I often think it's a lot of like not dyslexic people saying that this is what dyslexia is, and I'm like, no, it's not. So from a dyslexic, let me debunk some myths for you today. Let's go with like a big one first, that is dyslexics are stupid. Right, there also seems to be another one floating around that is dyslexics are highly intelligent. Now, there is no proven link between dyslexia and intelligence. There is no link. I think the two sort of extremes almost come from the fact that if you meet someone dyslexic, we look stupid on like the most superficial level, being like, what do you mean you can't spell that word? Ha ha ha, obviously you are a dumb individual. You can't do something so basic. Which, I mean, if you read some of the stuff I write without spell checking it, yeah, I look dumb. But if you then actually read what I'm writing, pretty sure you'll be like, oh no, she just can't spell, she just, yeah. So I think that's why you get the whole like, people thinking, oh, you're so dumb. But then the flip side being, yeah, there are some things that our brains are hardwired. Okay, dyslexic brains are physically different. That is insane. There are some things that our brains are hardwired to do that other brains struggle a lot more with. So I think then you can get people being like, oh, you can do that. Oh wow, you're really clever. Oh my god. So I think that's where you get the two like extremes from being like, oh, you stupid, oh, you so clever. But I don't seem to notice a mid-ground that people talk about. You know, you can have an average dyslexic, like that's completely normal too. You have average people. So like, that's where I think the two extremes come from. But again, there is no proven link between intelligence and dyslexia. It's just, I think people sort of pick and choose, and then you get these two extremes being like, oh, clearly this is incompatible behaviour. Myth 2, dyslexic students are lazy. This gives me like, to my very core. I can tell you, a lot of dyslexic students, no. I mean, obviously, yeah, the individual can be lazy, but I think as a dyslexic you get a reputation almost for being lazy because of the fact that you have to work so much harder than everyone else, and sometimes you can bust your ass and like still get nowhere. It's like, I feel like in my lectures, if they set us an entire book to read for 1 week, that is unrealistic. I cannot finish a 700-page book in a week. First of all, who can? I don't know these people, but like, it's so unrealistic. And then like, someone else has read, say you've both read for the same amount of time, someone else can have read 300 pages, you've read 100 and something pages, but then it makes it look like you're lazy because you didn't read as much, even though you worked just as hard. So like, to achieve the same level in certain things, you have to work so much harder. And sometimes I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I work hard as it is, and I just don't get like enough. So I think that's where you get that from, and like, especially like at school, like homeworks and stuff, especially when you don't necessarily know you're dyslexic, or people don't know how to help you, or they don't know you're dyslexic, people then will be like, oh, student D for dyslexic has not worked nearly as hard as student A because student A has done all of these things and this student has not. So clearly they're lazy, but it's not laziness. It's just this student needs more time. That is why we get 25% extra time on exams. We just need more time. It's harder for us. In a standardized education system, everything is just harder for us. So please cut us some slack. I've told you guys this before. So the worst thing I would ever get is when a teacher has explained something to me, you know, to the class, and then I've gone, sorry, could you repeat that? Could you explain this? And then I get the classic, you should have been listening. Oh my god! I was! Can't help it, there's nothing I could do. 3, dyslexia can be cured / outgrown. I literally had people like message me or like comment on my videos being like, how can I like cure it? How can I fix it? I'm like, yo, you can't. Dyslexia, your brain is physically different. Physically, your structure of your brain is not the same as somebody who does not have dyslexia. You can't cure it. It's not, for starters, it's not a disease. So you can't. Your brain is just different. It's just something that is different about you. That is not a bad thing at all, but you can't cure it. You're dyslexic from the moment you're born until the moment you die. You don't outgrow it. It's more obvious the struggles dyslexia poses when you are younger, and then when you get older you learn to cope, or you just are no longer in a situation in which your dyslexia is very obvious. I mean, as you get older you don't do spelling tests, you know, you have spell checkers, you can very obviously sort of cope with or mask the very like superficial, I think, symptoms of dyslexia. So it's not ever that you outgrow it. When you become a grown-up, you're still dyslexic. You just likely have chosen a field in which your dyslexia becomes an asset rather than a disadvantage. So you don't cure dyslexia. When it's like an issue, you learn to cope and you learn to deal with it. You don't cure it, and you certainly don't outgrow it. I mean, I just think you grow into it really more. You find your strengths and you use those and you work with that, rather than being like, oh, it's gone. Because it's not. Dyslexic children reverse letters in reading and writing. I'm pretty sure I've never done this. Mum, tell me if I'm wrong. But like, to my knowledge, I have never written a letter the wrong way round. Also, apparently, this is something that all little children do when they are learning to read and write. I was obviously researching this video, and apparently that is something that just a lot of small kids do, so that is not a very good way to try and be like, oh, dyslexic. I'm like, no, a lot of kids do this. I will swap letters around, often when I'm typing at the speed of light, and then I will write and t, because I just typed the letters I knew were in the word, just not bothering about the order, because I know I can fix it later. Is this laziness or efficiency? Because my god, do those two things go very, very close. No, so this is apparently not something that, if you're looking to spot dyslexia, that is not something you should pay attention to. And just because your child doesn't do this does not mean they are not dyslexic. I will probably try and do a video on like how to spot dyslexia, because I've like managed to get, I helped like confirm to one person that they were like definitely dyslexic, because they were getting a dyslexia test the next day, and then they were, and I kind of helped convince one of my friends to go get tested for dyslexia, and then they were dyslexic. So I'll try and do a video on like maybe what to look for, because I've got good at diagnosing myself and others. I don't like using the word diagnose because then it does sound medical, but like, you know what I mean, like spotting it. Oh, which actually comes to, dyslexia is a disability. Okay, so I have feelings on this. Dyslexia, currently it seems to be classed as a learning disability. However, I'm seeing it increasingly classed as a learning difficulty, and I much prefer that. I am dyslexic, I am not disabled. I much prefer the idea of it being classed as a difficulty, because just because I am dyslexic does not mean there are things that I cannot do. It just means that things are harder for me. As said, they are more difficult. Just because you're dyslexic, things are just more difficult does not mean you cannot do something. I think also using that terminology makes people focus on the negative things that come with dyslexia rather than the incredibly amazing positive things. I will do an entire video on like dyslexia as a gift. There are so many like, you know, websites and blogs geared towards helping people see the amazing things about it rather than the fact that you can't spell. Which again, as I've said, I think is dyslexia looked at its most superficial. In education, being dyslexic is difficult. In the real world, it is such an asset, it is such a gift. So I hate looking at it like it's a disability, because it's not. And I really encourage everyone not to look at it like that, and not to call it that even. This is not one of those like, oh, it's so sensitive. It's more that you have to be careful of the language you use to talk about things because of the impact that can have. Oh, the other one, that dyslexia is made up. Like, it's a real thing. What is wrong with people that are like, oh, you're not dyslexic? I think some people that I've come in contact with, I think because I am smart, that people are like, you're not dyslexic. And I'm like, look, here now. I have become a queen, a master of coping with the difficulties my dyslexia presents. I can make a whole video on this if you would like, looking, you know, reviewing all of Emma's coping strategies. But when you're dyslexic, you learn to problem solve because you have to survive. You learn to cope. You learn to deal with it at a very young age because you have to, or you suffer. And we suffer anyway, so I think a lot of people, like in my case, it was hard to like even spot I was dyslexic because of the fact that I coped so well. So because I was like clever enough to cope really well, that I just looked like an average student. I can't believe that even people think that it's not, but like, our brains are physically different. Can we please like focus on how ridiculous that is? Why do I have 5 WhatsApp notifications? It is my grandma sending pictures of my brother. Dyslexic can't spell. I mean, this is true, so I'm just gonna move on. Oh my god, do you wanna write? So I'm applying for master's degrees at the moment. I'm writing personal statements. I have to have my mum look over them for this very reason, being she was helping me, like, you know, write it. I'd written something really nice. I'd used the word wholeheartedly, or rather I thought I had. I'd written whole and heartedly, and my mum read it and she just started to like cry with laughter. And I'm like, she was just like, it's such a like error 2 sentences into my application, and she just started to cry with laughter because, oh look, I can be so clever, but look at this stupid glaring obvious thing that is there that I cannot see. So no, we can't spell, but that's irrelevant because spell checkers exist, unless you put phonetic substitutions by accident, because I didn't know that it was not the wrong word. Emma, did you put scared instead of sacred for an entire essay? I did. Emma, did you read casual instead of causal for an entire essay? I just didn't understand why it was a casual relationship. Obviously a causal relationship, but I couldn't see that until the last sentence of the essay. Another myth, I don't know how many more now, that dyslexia is uncommon. It is very common. Some estimates are at 5% of the population and some go up to like 20. As you can see, that is a lot of people. Even the 5%, that's a lot of people. Basically, you will definitely know people who are dyslexic. Like, you will. Also, one thing I've noticed is slightly off topic is how much you guys do seem to like resonate with these videos, and how little I think information, especially like on YouTube, that there is out there. I think that like here people don't seem to talk about it. I wouldn't know why, but how come just like they don't? If I search dyslexia, I pop up pretty quickly, which hopefully I guess is how you guys find me, but I don't understand why people don't talk about it enough. But yeah, dyslexia is pretty damn common. Dyslexia is difficult to diagnose. It's not. It's so easy to spot. I don't understand how people slip through dyslexia screenings. I don't. Like I've said, I think coping mechanisms go an incredibly long way, and I don't necessarily think those screening things are enough, because people I know have been screened, were told they weren't dyslexic, and then realised later that turns out they were. That cannot be the be-all and end-all of trying to catch dyslexics, because basically that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to like catch it, because these people need help and they deserve it to like thrive to their utmost. Because honestly, without all of my extra time and revisions, like I would just look like an average student, but I'm not. So it's like you have to like help people in order to let them tap into their full potential, because that's fair. Yeah, with my like extra time and all that stuff, I do much better than everyone else. It is not because I get extra time, it is because now the playing field has been leveled. That is what it's about. And I think everybody deserves that. So no, the whole idea of scrapping extra, like no, you deserve all of those things that help you do your best. Dyslexia is genetic. Like I don't know how many studies have been done on this, but I'm pretty sure this is like 100% true. It's funny looking at my grandparents being like, which one of you was it? I think my dad is a bit dyslexic. I know my mum can be a bit dyslexic with like numbers and stuff, but not in the way that I am. So I don't think mum's dyslexic, but I think my dad is, and my grandma definitely is. I think it comes from my dad's side of the family. But then I look at my granddad and I'm like, you. So I think it must have like just trickled down like a little bit from both sides to then be like, ta-da, hello, here is Emma. I've said this before to people, like I think I would be, because I would like 3 kids, and I think I would be upset if none of them had dyslexia. Like I genuinely would. I'd be like, oh, why can't I just have one? Oh my god, if I had all 3, that would be like, I'd be like, oh my god. But I would like to have like a dyslexic child, just to be able to like share that with, you know, like it is something important to me. And people have said like, why would you want that? I'm like, why wouldn't you? Especially because like my mum is like always like, you're so special. I'm like, thanks. Like it's like a bonding thing that we have. Even though my mum isn't dyslexic, but I think she spent a lot of time, because her brain is so different, trying to understand mine, which is just, dyslexics can't read. If you're new to this channel, pleased to meet you. I take a degree in comparative literature. I am in my last year. I can confirm to you, I can in fact read. However, I read at the pace people speak. I cannot speed read. I don't know how people do that. It does not, nothing registers with me. And if you make me read aloud, I actually sound broken. Like, I can't read aloud. It would be the worst thing in the world at school when it was like, you know, when you have to, like, you're reading a book and you have to like then take turns going around the class and read a bit. That was the single worst thing you could do to me. It just sounded so, because you'd have all of these people speaking completely normally, and then you would get to me, and I would just be there like, the window. What's that word? Can somebody say this word for me? What is that word? And especially then if your teacher doesn't know and your classmates don't know and they don't get it, they're like, what is wrong with you? Even now in uni, if we're like reading something just off the like screen, I will count how many people it is before it would get to me and rehearse in my head. Or I would just be like, I'm dyslexic, can I not do this? So it's just quite nice now when people are like, oh yeah, obviously, yeah, sure. That's just a tip. You can just be like, I'm dyslexic, please don't make me do this, because it's mortifying. And that's just, like I've said, it's just not great for your confidence at all. It's kind of similar to the other one. Dyslexics spell things backward. I just said that weirdly. No, I have never. Do you know how hard it is for us to spell something normally? Never mind backwards. Who comes up with this stuff? Okay, maybe if it's like cat and then you get tack, okay, but generally I would do that just because I put things in the wrong place, and then if it's a short enough word, it looks like I spelled it backwards. I just hit myself in the face. I can't spell things backwards. I can't even spell things forwards. So this is not a thing. Another one is gifted children cannot be dyslexic or have a learning difficulty. This is not true. As I have said earlier in the video, there is no proven link between IQ and dyslexia. Yeah, I'm proving points really great right now. No, there is no link. Okay, obviously it is rare to have a gifted child who has a learning difficulty, because those two things are in themselves already quite rare, so it's like you get a double whammy. There's even a term for this called 2E, which is like twice exceptional. I did a lot of like research when I was like trying to figure out the whole, okay, context, for those of you who don't know, I got into Mensa recently, which completely like messes with my brain of how I'm supposed to look at myself as a person. It is rare, but it does happen. Dyslexia is an umbrella term for learning difficulties. No, it is not. Dyslexia is a very, very specific learning difficulty. Things like dyspraxia and ADHD, those are they're completely different things. Dyslexia is not an umbrella term. It is a very specific thing. This is one that I have thought to be true for a very, very long time. I did not really like, researching this, I was like, that's not true. What do you mean it's not true? More boys than girls have dyslexia. This is not true. I had no idea. I thought this was so true because in my class in primary school, there were like, there were like 2 boys who were dyslexic and then was me who was dyslexic. I thought this was true. Apparently it's more that dyslexia in boys is a lot easier to see than it is in girls, because generally boys, if they can't do something, especially at that age, they're more likely to get frustrated and act out, so it's more obvious to spot that there's something going on there. So it's just easier to spot in boys because of how they react to it rather than with girls. That's quite interesting. I had no idea. Another thing that is not on my list, but like, the dyslexics have atrocious handwriting. Let me tell you, this is so true. I, as a child, could never understand why all of the girls in my class had this beautiful handwriting, and then there was my handwriting, which you can't read it. And why my handwriting looked like the boys' handwriting. I was like, why is this a thing? We just can't do it. Something to do with phonological processing. Or maybe that's a different bit and I got confused, which is also very likely. It is not fair to make accommodations for dyslexic students. And I have a quote from one of the websites I was looking at. I will link lots of things and resources down below as always. A child with accommodations made for him, her, still has to work just as hard to succeed as any other student. This was my whole point. The way my mother has described to me is a Ferrari in 4th gear. Meaning that I have all of the capabilities, I just have a thing that means that I just need like extra help. I'm sure if you can drive, you understand. I can't, so I don't really understand. But it's this idea that like, no, just because you have accommodations made for you, just because the playing field is now level, doesn't mean that a dyslexic is automatically going to do better. It just means that now the playing field is level, we are at the same starting line. That is what that means. It makes things fair. It means that on the same kind of like scoring system, I get to then show that I can do it, even because the system is like stacked against you, if that makes sense. Because let me tell you, like, the fact that, yeah, okay, 25% extra time and tinted lenses, coloured paper, whatever, that doesn't make up for me being dyslexic. That doesn't like combat it. It does a bit, but that doesn't mean that like, oh, it's gone, oh, it's this, like, I'm the same now. That's not the case at all. I still struggle enormously. Those are like little accommodations, things that are very valuable to me and really do help, but it doesn't make up for it. So I just think that like people have to not, you know, be so butthurt about these things, because the only people who complain are people who are like, I want 25% extra time, why don't I get a rest break, why don't I go, like, stop complaining. Like, stop it, because it just clearly like points out your own laziness, and like, so just don't, because it's so frustrating, and often like you don't know how to defend yourself when people are like going in on you for these kind of things, and I'm like, what? There's nothing I can do about it. Thank you. Next. And the last one, I think this is probably the most important myth, is that Emma puts the sexy in dyslexia. And now I can confirm this is, however, in fact, entirely true. I hope you've enjoyed debunking dyslexicness with me, and I hope that you learned something, because I learned something in this video. Information is a wonderful thing. I'm gonna quickly wrap up this video because I'm gonna go see Feely for lunch, which is very, very exciting. Thank you very, very much for watching my videos, especially my dyslexic ones. I will leave the other couple down below. Any questions, any, you know, information, anything you guys want to discuss, any myths you yourself have to debunk, please leave them down below. You know I always love to hear them. So yes, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I'll see you guys very, very soon.